feel so much different. Here.
We're live. I'm Adam. That's Paul, who was
Hello.
just talking. I'll point the camera at him. I've decided that I kind of hate our camera angle. There he is. There's Paul. He's the lead designer of Galactic Civilizations 3. But I've decided that I kind of hate the camera angle, so we're just going to go without the camera for now, and it's going to be fine. Now, FYI, we are on backup internet here. So if it fails, I apologize. I don't really know what else to say.
This will continue our string of quality podcasts from the last 2 weeks.
Yes, I apologize for the clear drop off in quality after 2 weeks of brilliance.
Yeah, no, I was referring to the fact that we, like the first week, we ended up just cutting.
Oh yes, that's right.
And then a lot of what are the questions?
So hopefully, we should be pretty well set. So here we are. We are streaming Galactic Civilizations 3. We are streaming the public build. So the same build that all of our founders and our pre-order customers have, which is beta 0.42, which is the update that we just pushed last week. Oh, chat always wants to know if they're going to see one of my horrible ship designs, and I didn't have time to do one this week. I've been deep in the weeds getting ready for the imminent announcement of another Stardock game, which is very exciting, which will be, it'll be coming pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I am excited about that.
What those other guys are working.
There's that whole other set of
people that I don't
developers.
get are all working on something else.
That's right. So you can look forward to that. But for now, we'll talk Galaxy 3. We have lots of questions. Peregrine 23, one of our well-known forum guys. It's not Star Control, sorry. One of our well-known forum guys collated a bunch of questions from the forums over the week, which is awesome. So I am very thankful for that. So we'll get to those while we go. But as always, I'm going to take questions out of the chat first because, frankly, because I appreciate you guys showing up and being part of this and making it fun. So Eris Child says, you should let us upload our ships to show off. What an interesting idea, wouldn't you say, Paul?
Yes, and we intend to do this, so that's going to probably come in a little while later. Our plan is to use the Steam Workshop to do all that. There's a lot of infrastructure that has to be finalized. We also don't really want to start doing that until the ship design is finalized, which is mostly done, but there's still, you can't put particles on. There's bugs in the screens. So yeah, we are definitely going to be doing that for sure.
Very cool. Let's see. Can I rename my planet? Yes, you can. You can rename any of your planets, whatever you like, as long as it's not in multiplayer and it's vulgar. Although we're not, I don't think
there's anything stopping you from doing that. Yet. So let's see. Alteria.
Merely good taste.
To Paul Town. And you're supposed to actually be able to rename it in here, but I guess I didn't get around to that. Oh wait, govern, rename.
There you go.
So, Wisp E. Okay.
People are asking if our ship nudes are going to be leaked off of the iCloud, and we can only hope that their privacy will be respected.
Problem, yeah.
So let's see. We've got a robot. We got some tech. Hamelmac wants to know about plans for Planetary Governors, which we've talked about some in the past. Paul, I don't know how much you want to share about where that's at and when that's going to be going into the beta.
We're actually working on that right as we speak. Mostly we're working on it from the AI point of view because the AI needs to be able to build smart planets. We're creating the whole system. It's a little similar to how the AI builds ships, where the blueprint system, where's a planet will go, it'll go, hey, this planet has got a really great research bonus. This should be a research-based planet. And then it'll have a blueprint where it goes, I'm going to try and build this type of improvement, this type of improvement, this type of improvement. And then there'll be a little bit of a reactionary stuff where it'll be like, well, if I'm buried under influence, I'll also build some influence improvements extra, or I'll build, or I have really bad approval, I'll build something. But we mostly want it to, they will be actually hand curated governors that I make or another designer makes. And there'll be several, the AI will have probably 50 of these, maybe more. The players will only see probably 5 or 6. And the question is, I was actually wondering if maybe it'd be cool to make some of them unlock with text, stuff like that, but I don't think that's necessary. We'll just have a bunch of them, and then essentially you can go, you could do exactly what the AI does. You go, this plan would be great for tech, for a tech capital, and you just say tech capital governor, and you leave. And
so what if you do that and then you realize, hey, I really badly need to generate some influence here, or my approval's tanking or whatever? Can you just go in and like insert something into the build order and then let the governor?
We haven't gotten that far, but yeah, you'll probably just be able to override something in or turn off the governor.
Sure. Well, yes, you'd obviously always be able to. Just
I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't just make it say, no, change the queue, bam, and then the governor will. Alan's probably gonna hear this and go, what? Yeah, no, I mean, we'll have to. That's kind of phase 2, getting it to the players. Right now, phase 1 is just making the AI do it. The AI needs to be able to change its mind or adjust. So that kind of. But we'll have to compensate for. Hey, the player just wants to come in and throw down a factory. That shouldn't break anything. It just needs to be accounted for. So yes, that you should be able to do that. And or just turn the governor off. We also even have, it's not in here yet. Oh, okay. We actually renamed this governor's screen in here to commands because it makes a little more sense. And then that is where you're going to be able to do all of the large rally point migrations and stuff. But we're actually going to have a governor or a commander or commands where you can say all planets using the research governor should use the military governor.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So yeah, well, we're erring on the side of putting a bunch of those in, and we'll take them out if they do not prove useful. But it's really nice to have these options, especially on these. I mean, I've done a little bit of testing now on the insane map size, and it's insane. It is literally insane. I mean, you could spend a month playing with these. We were joking about how Skyrim is like a massively single-player RPG. These maps are kind of like a massively single player or multiplayer, I guess, although you could play a multiplayer game on one of those and never see each other. I think you might go insane.
I was going to say, I think Nathan will kill you if you suggest doing 100 faction multiplayer map.
Yeah, we are going to have to limit players in multiplayer, but not in single player. Right now we're still testing at 100, and so far we're pleasantly surprised. We're not going to let players get their hands on it for a while, but it is working out. The UP has created some challenges where we have like this. The UP screen is kind of like the Brady Bunch screen. All little holograms come up. And they're talking. Well, what happens is I've got 100 major races, and the math works. They all get a certain amount of votes. It actually really changes the whole way the UP plays. But now we have to have this screen be able to compensate, the Brady's times, 10. So it's interesting.
I love the Brady Bunch screen. That's fantastic.
We were joking about having animations where they all high five each other, but I don't think that's the best use of our art.
I disagree, but what do I know?
Well, I never did get my Kona ice bucket challenge either. So I think somebody got to that before I.
That's a shame. We had a question from chat. What about naming asteroids, nebulas, and black holes? It's kind of an interesting question.
Well, I honestly never thought about that. I could see naming, oh man. Well, see, the problem is asteroids don't even have a context area.
Oh, yeah, they don't. And
I don't know if they really need one. So, I mean, it might be interesting to make it a name like a string, that's the Van Allen belt or the Boyer belt of asteroids. Nebulas, you want the Motara Nebula or whatever, from Star Trek. We currently have no plans on that, but it sounds like it would be a fun polish feature if we ever get around, if we have the time.
I always loved in Alpha Centauri how you would have like features on the map and they were named the whatever forest or the something trench.
Well, we would definitely, cool. As a matter of fact, nebulas right now have no name at all. They're just nebula. and black holes either, whereas stars all have names.
Right.
Oh, speaking of which, I just put all the founders' names that we have so far
Oh yeah.
into the game. So
Very good.
and ironically, there was a bunch of duplicates.
Ah,
So I called those out and
like duplicates of names that were already in the game.
No,
or
no, well
just,
that too.
Okay.
But there was literally like people who had submitted the same name. And I mean, there was only like 29 out of 3,700 or whatever
Right.
that we already have. So yeah, I they're in the game. I reserve the right to go through and tweak them. So, but when there's 3,700, I don't know how much tweaking I'm going to do.
I mean, ultimately, the solution is if you really hate a star name, go colonize it, and you can change it yourself.
Rename it.
That's
Actually,
right.
there's nothing to stop you. Although right now there's no way to change a star name, but there is nothing. Once we actually have a star context window, you can just randomly. I mean, the Altarians probably don't call Saul. You know.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fair.
They call it Poopy Town or something.
I'm going to hold you to that.
That's in the lore. Yeah. Those Terrans smell so bad.
That's fantastic. Question about will we be able to make custom governors?
Yes, that is one step even further out than just getting them exposed to player. But I'm actually doing them through data driven. They're going to be a data driven thing. So once that is done, we can then just create a tab or an editor that lets you go in and say, I want to build this, in this order, and save it as my governor. And then you're good. The reason why we're going to have so many for the AI is we want the AI to make decisions based on the planetary traits, based on the class of the planet, all this stuff like that. Whereas the humans just going to go, I want it to be military.
Sure.
You know, whereas we want it to literally be like, I want it to be the perfect military planet for a class 11 planet.
Sure.
You know, so that's why we need a large variety for the AI.
Gotcha. We had a couple of questions that I kind of want to tie together. Halo Mac asks if we'll be able to get ideology points from planetary invasions, and then somebody else, also possibly Halo Mac, I don't know, he asked a lot of questions, which is fine. We love that. Wanted to know what the plan for implementing events is, and I know that you talked at one point about invasion events.
Oh, that doesn't even...
And events in general. So
we are working on events actually right now.
is that going to be for beta 2?
Yes, not all of them, obviously, but we're going to have a bunch of global events and then a bunch of global ideological events. So things that are kind of like a colonizing event, but global, and everybody will get them. Although right now in single player, probably only you will get them. At some point, we actually have to let the AI kind of get them too, or else it's not really balanced. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to have the global events and the global, they're called galactic events and galactic colonized events. The only type of events that will not be in beta 2 are mega events, and they're probably 2 or 3 betas away before the mega events start showing up. But yes, so we're working on that. I do really like the idea of invasion events, but that has not been formalized in the design yet. But it's something I'm toying with. Because
I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would be nice. It gives it would push the ideology a little forward.
Right.
We're also gonna, and this I was hoping to get into beta 2, probably won't. We're gonna have anomalies that give you ideological choices. So you just be exploring along. It's like, hey, you found this. What do you do with it? And depending on what you decide, you might get money, you might get influence. So it'll give you some choices. It's a little more Star Trek-y. And once you get that. And then it's another way to push ideology forward. Because right now, the only thing that pushes it forward is a couple improvements and colonizing, which is, on a small map, not enough to get you very far.
Right.
On an immense map, you can do all 3 trees.
Good question here. I had not ever thought of this. Gilmoy asks, can we have an edit points command on ship paths? For example, if we don't like one little part of a long ship path, to be able to like right click and drag around the path.
That is something that we've thought about doing, and I will not say we'll never do it, but it adds a lot of complexity to movement. What we will be adding is rally points in the next build, so you can kind of do that. Right now, if you really want to do a very specific path, you have to like start it and then move it when it gets there.
Right.
Which is honestly is not that big of a deal now because of the button won't let you.
Sure.
So you don't waste turns. Whereas in the old days, you'd say, go here, and then you go, but I don't want to have to and then it would
Right.
sit there. And so now you literally say, go here, and it's going to go there at the same rate as if you had picked 2 paths. That said, I do like the idea. It's just not in the current design.
Sure. Let's see. Is the combat still that awesome? Getting to watch the ships battle it out style? Yes, that's what combat will be, although it'll have some more interaction to it.
Yes.
That's for Beta 3, which is currently planned in December. Oh, I wanted to mention you were talking about diplomacy. If people may not know, diplomacy will be going in Beta 2, which is scheduled for October. Which I actually just got a date out of Ray for that, so I was pretty excited about that. Provided you guys actually, get it done.
We will get it done. The question is how much we can get in time.
Sure.
I mean, we have some pretty high goals. Basic diplomacy will for sure be in. Governors will be for sure in. A lot of little polish points that people have been asking for. Ships not wiggling, so the straightening of the paths. Although ironically you don't notice it as much with a slow ship, but if you have a long ship, a fast ship, it'll zip across the map. That's a nice touch.
I'm super glad that that's getting in because that drives me nuts.
Zooming
it really does.
in and out on the mini map, better mini map scaling, the turning on the rest of the mini map, toggle buttons, rally points going to be in governor, or I keep calling them governors, commands. Are going to be in
commanders.
No, they're not commanders. It's just commands. You go to govern, and there's a commands button, a commands tab, and with that commands tab, you say all shipyards building this, build this. All planets building this, build this. All planets sponsoring this starport, sponsor this starport. I mean, like I said, we're throwing in a lot right now. Some of them maybe, are not actually that useful. So we'll probably remove a couple. As we go on, but we're erring on the side of any bulk commands you can make that we can get in there. We're going to try.
Sure. We had a couple more questions about movement. People are invested in this. I'm kind of surprised, but that's cool. Vermilion Chaos says a movement queue would be nice, so you could set scouts and forget them. Like I do that all the time in an RTS, where you shift right click and it goes here and it goes here, so it's like waypoints. Basically, right?
Isn't that exactly what the other guy just asked for?
No, he wanted to have to set a long destination and then be able to drag and move that path.
Oh, well, that's even more complicated. Like I said, right now we're gonna start off with rally points.
Gotcha.
So you could say you can say scout go here, scout go there. Auto Explorer is really supposed to do that type of thing as well.
Right.
But a queued movement order actually is not a bad idea. It's just it's a lot more complicated than it sounds, especially in a turn-based game where there's a lot of waiting between things and you can't, and speed isn't as relevant. So anyways, we can play with that, but no current plans for that.
Sure. I am actually really looking forward to whenever you guys take the next pass on the explore and survey behaviors, because it drives me nuts how inefficient they are, but I really want to be able to use them just to get that micromanagement out of my life.
I use them, and essentially what I do is I will send the ship somewhere off in the middle of nowhere, and then tell it to do it.
Sure.
The biggest problem is when where it gets confusing now, and believe it or not, my wife was yelling at me about this, is that you're surveying on one side of the map, and then your scout that's on the other side of the map uncovers an anomaly.
Right, and then your survey ship goes
I got to get over there,
Yep.
and then he goes all the way across, and you're like, wait, stop. So yeah, no, those are all that will all get better as AI starts getting smarter.
Gotcha. One suggestion I thought was really cool that I believe came out of the forum. I apologize if I'm misstating that, but somebody talking about having anomalies spawn during the game, if there's a big fleet battle,
Yes.
Leaving an anomaly there.
That is all planned. So
cool.
well, first off, anomalies will just respawn in general.
Okay.
Like they did in Galactic 2. So and that will be tied to anomaly frequency. So if you have anomalies set high, as you play, they'll come in every other turn or so randomly on someplace in the map. I very much want to make it so battles leave behind anomalies, and I want those to be able to trigger certain types of anomalies. They kind of be like ship graveyards, where it's like, oh, you found this thing, and you literally find a ship, and better yet, you find a ship that is one of the ships that died in that battle or whatever. So there's all kinds of neat stuff we can do with that. That'll kind of go into the second pass of anomaly stuff, which probably won't be in beta 2, but will be showing up beta 3 probably.
Very cool. Let's see. Kilmoy also wants a time-lapse movie mode, basically, where
What's
he's talking,
hyperlapse?
I think he's basically talking about like replay.
Yeah, we will have that.
Very cool.
If you played Gauss of 2, we're going to essentially have everything we had in Gauss of 2 plus some new stuff. Alan Kahn really wants like I forget what he called it, but essentially it's like a Battlestar Galactica view where like everything is large focus zoom. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, so that'd be kind of cool. It's mostly simulate that kind of like documentary watching of the battle. We will have, you can just pause the battle, you can rewind the battle, you can replay the battle, you can speed it up or slow it down. So yeah, all of those things are in there.
What about for the game though? For like the strategic replay of your whole game?
Oh, wow, that would be something.
That'd be cool. Well, like Civilization has done that forever.
Yeah. I don't know what. Yeah. Sounds like a cool feature. I'll send that to the designer. Yeah.
Excellent. Trade routes and trade route rating. How do those work?
Well, trade
Inquiring
routes
minds want to know.
currently, I feel bad because I'm not really playing because I'm just talking, and all people can see is my screen that's doing nothing. So trade routes are going to work more or less like in Gauss of 2. You build a freighter, which are not in this build, but say it's like I'm building a constructor here. That ship then comes out of the shipyard, and it'll prompt you to say, because now there's no concept of a home world, so it has to pick one because it's off of a shipyard. So it'll let you pick from any sponsor planets. And or if there's only one, it'll just automatically assign that planet. And then you send it to another planet. So I send it to Altaria or whatever. Oh, you know what I did last week that worked pretty good while I'm talking? Let's do this.
Oh, just hitting autoplay?
Yeah.
Hacks.
What was it? Toggle AI. Okay, so oops. This keyboard is different.
I hate that keyboard. I really do.
Okay. So I would then essentially build a shipyard like this colony ship, send it to Earth. Oh, I guess I'm playing there, and then it would create a shipyard, a trade route. The only real difference is that we are introducing multiple types of trade routes. Probably not in the first beta, but eventually. So there'll be like population trade or the things that give essentially different bonuses other than just money.
Sure.
Things that like where the two trading routes get more influence because they're sharing. So so some neat things like that. And once you've unlocked multiple different types of trade routes, you can, when you hit that planet, it'll say, what type of trade route do you want to use? So that's really the only major difference. Now, when it comes to rating, I'm a little torn. What is currently implemented and what we plan on doing is, I'm always surprised how fast this thing starts doing stuff when the way it currently works is the trade route is laid down on the map. It's a big line, just like in Gauss of 2, a little, different looking. If you can park any armed ship, on a trade route, and then you right click on it, and there's a command called raid. When you raid that, you park on that trade route, it starts raiding that trade route. It immediately tells the person you are raiding where you are and that you're doing it. If you're not at war with them, it declares war. It'll trigger a war event just like you invaded, blew up on his ships. And then if you can hold that trade route for, I think it's 10 turns. For each turn you have it, you start siphoning off 10% of the money being made by that trade route. And if you hold it for 10 turns, you get all of the money, and then it breaks the trade route. So
Okay.
you get a bunch of money, but then you have to essentially run away. But I didn't like in Galactic 2 that it was just constantly, oh, somebody blew up your little mini freighter, and the mini freighters were so small that you didn't really even notice them.
Sure.
You weren't really tracking where they were. So we're trying this new approach. I'm not even sure if we're going to bother drawing the mini freighters on the map. Just once you attack, there'll be a big line going back and forth. The further the distance, the longer the route exists, and the more money both planets is making, the more
Okay.
trade is worth. So it's like you really want to get a really long train route with a really wealthy place, and you want to maintain it for the longest possible. So that's, and then the other thing that trade routes will be affected is now in Galactic 2 you could put a star base with a trade outpost on and overlapping the trade route, and then whenever a ship was in that range, it would boost what that ship's money was. What it will do now is you actually build a trade post and you put it so it's touching the planet that is trading, and that planet's trade income will go up. So it's a little bit different, more or less the same, hopefully taking out some of the micromanagement and little weird tweaks. So we'll see. It will be in at least bare bones in beta 2, and and you guys can let us know what you think of it.
Very cool. How about privateers?
Well, there is going to be pirates, which will be raiding your things. Privateers are actually different.
Yes, privateers. Privateers. If you don't know, privateers are basically the ships that an empire builds, but then they fly no flag, right?
Well,
and they go.
It depends on how you do, but essentially,
Generally speaking,
they're essentially paid for troops. They're
Paid for-
the
paid-
Blackwater of
Sure.
the galactic civilization.
Traditionally, in games, there'll be a way to you can build privateers and raid trade routes without declaring war.
See, now we don't currently have a idea for that, but that's not a bad idea. Sounds like expansion pack. So one of the things that the Iridium actually have the ability to hire. There's a privateer tech where you actually get like a free ship if you unlock this that follows your freighters around or follows your fleets around and defends it. And so there's little things like that.
Very cool. We had a UI request for hotkeys to open the various menus, which, trust me, I will annoy the developers until they give in and put in all the hotkeys that we could possibly want, because hotkeys are
Do we
one
not
of my...
have any hotkeys?
Oh, man,
right
our
now?
hotkeys are so lacking.
Okay.
I mean, it's beta. It's fine. But, yes, I'm on your side, guys.
no
And I don't think anybody doesn't
scroll.
want to put them in there, but...
Camera.
it's
Yeah,
just we haven't really.
We really don't have that much. We have grid, and also none of these have spaces in them.
Oh yeah, they're all like super camel case programmer strings. Yes.
Camera up. Yeah. We will have a buttload of hotkeys. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that's kind of ends up being last because not all the features are in.
Right.
So yeah, we
Totally.
will definitely have hotkeys for everything.
When will we get an auto center on battle? Is a good question.
Hopefully, at the very least, we will be able to get that in for beta 2.
Because beta 3 again is the combat beta.
So we, like I said, we tend to push off the battle stuff because it's all going to be like the main focus of beta 3. But at the very least, we need to fix that and get a little better notification system as to when you're being attacked and stuff. Just because it's super annoying.
It is super annoying
for the player and for us. Hey, look, somebody's already invading something.
Excellent. Go AI. Yay. Let's see. What else do we got? We had a bunch of questions about... Oh, here we go. This is one that's come up a bunch of times, and we've never answered it, which is any plans for some form of Cold War, some kind of military interaction that isn't just a full-on, all-out war.
Not necessarily, mostly because it's hard. You can definitely do that, but the minute you actually start hurling weapons, it tends to turn to, right now it will turn to war.
Okay.
You can do a lot of, essentially a cultural game where you're just trying to flip them is a Cold War, right? You build up enough army where you're like, you don't want to attack me. I'm just going to build this starbase in the middle of your territory, but you're afraid of me. So, so that's kind of the equivalent of a Cold War. There are certainly some fun stuff we can do, though.
This one came out in the forum and has been repasted into the chat, which is fine. Guys having trouble culture flipping planets, despite having way more culture and like surrounding them.
There is a bug that's making planets not flip. Well, first off, there's a bug. There's that bug, and I don't know what it is. We're looking into it. And there's not really any counter or anything that tells you the progress. That's the biggest problem. It's like if you just literally look at it and go, oh, I'm never going to flip this guy. I'm surrounded him, but this planet is generating 500 culture a turn. There's no way I'm ever going to be able to flip it. You need to know that. There's no way for you to know that. So we need to fix that. So that's UI problem. And then, like I said, there's a bug where I've taken planets and they never flipped, and I'm not sure why. So we're looking into that.
So beta, got it. Any plans for a Senate shifting your strategies? A lot of people have asked about empire government types and stuff like that, and because those were in previous Galciv, I believe, and we do not have those currently in the beta. And I'm
not quite sure what they are talking about.
Like if you go into like a democracy style of government, you have like a Senate override your decisions? That kind of stuff.
We're working on government. I would like to actually, and Brad might disagree with me, so might turn into an argument, and I might actually just be convinced. I don't love the idea of having to get votes passed in the Senate, because it seemed like if you play just with a decent approval, you always won. So it didn't really seem like it was a real game. It added anything to the game. That said, I'm not rolling it out. Right now, you will be able to change governments and change parties as you go up. That probably won't be until beta 3. But yeah, we have some plans for that.
Okay. Will there be holes in the map where you can fall through and end up in a really tiny bubble galaxy in the background?
No. Well, there will be holes in the map that you can fall through, but you will not be able to play in a little bubble. No, we have some plans for some crazy like event-driven stuff, but we're not. We don't really have the luxury of just creating a whole separate little map to play on or something like that. Oh,
gotcha.
Somebody just what's going on?
Let's see. When will we expect to see minor races? When can we expect to see minor races? How many will there be? Will they have unique ship designs, animated or static images for them? I'm assuming he's referring to diplomacy there.
Okay, so minor races in the current plan will have static images because they're minors, and the image, and we want a bunch of them. So the answer to how many is as many as we can make. The
ship designs.
Ship designs, yes, they will probably, some of them will have unique ship designs. They will probably not have quite the variety that the majors do. Like instead of making all of their missile-based ships look different than their laser-based ships, they might just have
small, medium,
large,
sure,
and then cargo, blah, blah, blah. I would love that. I would love them all to be unique, but it does take time to make those ships. And also we need something to differentiate them, and they will all have their own unique colors and all that, and their own leaders. But yeah, they'll have static images. They won't be able to vote in the UP. Other than that, they should behave and be as intelligent as a major. They just will have like a couple flags that make them not colonize and stuff like that.
Sure. Let's see.
Holy.
What's going on in there?
I think they keep running over to invade something and then see something and run away.
Excellent. That is a lot of ships.
That's a lot of transports with defenders. They are.
Wow, yeah.
They must be cranking. What turn are we? Oh, we're at 350 turns. I forget that once you hit auto,
it cranks pretty quick.
There's 350, 361.
Also, your money is terrifying.
Yeah, we have to fix that. Autoplay doesn't do any checking the AI will just spend itself into oblivion, which is good for us because we want to see get all the crashes and bugs, and we don't want it to have to play conservatively. But yeah, we'll be fixing that.
So actually, a question from a little while back that I thought was interesting. Will there be any kind of like raider fleets or rebels or anything popping out from low approval or culturally?
Well, pirates will exist. That's more of like a mega event thing where
Okay.
where like planets will secede or form their own little empires, or like in Galactic 2 where we plan on like if a race gets wiped out and there's ships left over, their ships will go rogue, or some of them may, like if they're close, they'll go to their allies, and some of them will go become pirates. We also have the idea of having little pirate conclaves like in some of the nebulas where it's like there's a pirate starbase and it's got a bunch of ships, and then you have to,
sweet.
it's kind of like a minor race that doesn't have a planet. Some stuff like that. Those are things that are a little ways out because we're still just making all the brains work. And then once we have all those brains working, that's when I get to have fun and essentially make little special races like that.
Very cool. A question from the chat: will players be able to make custom wireframes and such? I believe he means parts for ship design, like make wireframes and textures for an organic race. Yeah, I mean, you can import whatever you can make.
Anything that, right now we're using Maya, and we're going to have to make another exporter, but anything that will theoretically, anything that will export an FBX file,
which is a file format of for
a
like
file
a 3D
format,
file,
can then be, you will have a tool that converts it so you can put it in the game.
So
now, ideally, my dream is for you to literally be able to go down like in the designer and say, have an advanced tab and say import part, and then it'll just import it. And if it looks right, you say save, and then it converts it and puts it right into the game. I just made a couple people flinch by telling you that, but that is the dream. So we might eventually get that. Right now, there is actually literally a little tool that you open it up, and it's more important that some of the weirder things are the textures are kind of advanced layout. We have a thing that converts those. So at some point, our team will put together essentially a modding guide that allows people to make parts. And then, once you know how, and if you have 3D skills, you can make parts and just put them in the game and then build ships with them just like any other part.
Very cool. One more question, I think, and then we're gonna get back to making the actual game. But the question is, we've had a lot of people asking about tech trading and how it works. And I know we've talked a little bit about this before on the stream, but it doesn't hurt to revisit it, especially with the diplomacy patch coming up. And the question is, I mean, like, because tech trading could be kind of broken in Galciv 2, in like a super powerful kind of way of meaning of the word broken. But because we have, the individual tech trees and everything for Galciv 3, could you talk a little bit, I guess, just about how tech trading works, how it's implemented?
Well, currently tech trading will work by we don't, at some point we might have to like limit some of the trading, like say this is a tech that you just can't trade. But as a rule, any tech can be traded with any race. And you will, and essentially, the values, there'll be certain things where the AI is like, I'm never going to give you that. But like you two people playing together, like you could essentially cheese it by both of you researching something and just sharing everything all the way down the thing. Actually, that's a cool idea for just an alliance type, that just where anything you unlock. Anyway, so so tech trading, you'll be able to trade any tech with any other player. You like a lot of them are actually mirrored. Oh yeah, I forgot that I'm gonna have to do this because autoplay has unlocked 1,000 techs.
Yes.
Anyways, while I right click, what was I saying? Okay, so a lot of the techs like these weaponizations are actually mirrored through both trees. They might be named, they might even give something slightly different, but I can then trade that with you and it will give you your equivalent of it.
So like the Drengen, slave pits or whatever.
Well, now slave pits are unique. And so there are some things where I can literally trade with the Drengen and get slave pits, and then I can build a factory and a slave pit.
Okay.
Whereas I can't trade with the Drengen to get beam weapon specialization because we're both going to have that. So there's a little bit of mirroring along that lines. There's a lot of unique ones, but there's also like farms is farms is farms. They might be called different. They might behave a little different. And if it is something like that, like once I unlock farm, and then if I get it, that will I'll be able to progress up the tree from there. If it's something that is literally not in my tree at all, it'll just show up out on its own, and you won't be able to progress. If by trading for that tech, you don't get the things above it, right? So it's going to be interesting. We're going to have a lot of balancing to do. We'll have options to disable trading. We'll have options to disable brokering.
Okay.
And we're going to leave brokering in. I know a lot of people don't like it, but on a large galaxy, it's actually really cool. I loved exploiting it. So we're going to have that be an option like we did in Galaxy 2 where people can turn it off.
Very cool. I lied. One last thing. I always do this. I always say I'm going to take one last question. And somebody asks a really good question, and I don't want to let it slide until the next week. But Surge72 out of the chat asks, any work towards what you mentioned in a previous dev stream regarding showing more than 3 ships in a fleet on a map to better convey the size of a fleet?
Well, we haven't done anything with that, and that's more of a polished thing right now. The reason we do 3 is because they start getting really weird when we go looking. My dream in Elemental, we had this originally where you'd zoom in, and as you zoomed in, the LOD would turn them on and they'd get big.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then you'd see all of them, and it was awesome, but most people never did it. And therefore, so it really just came down to, well, how many people do we want to show? And 3 is usually a good summary. Right now, the layout of the 3 is probably not the best. It can be smarter where it goes, it should pick the most powerful ships. And maybe like if there's a transport, always show the transport or something. So because you don't want to see a fleet come in and go, oh, it is nothing. And, but yeah, I love that. At the very least, one of the things we will do is when you double click a fleet for fleet details, it'll show all the ships in this view. So this will be like 50. And then my goal is 50 is a lot. My goal also is that from in here, you click on one of these and it will then toggle to ship details. And the other ones will all fade to the back, and you can kind of to loop-de-loop through them.
Very cool. Well, I think that's going to do it for our stream this week. Thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate it. Thanks to Rainman on the forums and on Twitch. I don't think he's in the chat today, but he often is. Came in and guest hosted for me for a couple of weeks while I was out of the office. So thanks to Ray. Thank you all very much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more Galciv dev stream Q&A with lead designer Paul Boyer, and we will talk to you then.
How
how do I turn this thing off?